Welcome to the Investor Coaching Show, a podcast to help you get an insider's view of the financial world and escape common investment traps. We look at the financial news of the day and help you make sense of it so you can relax about money. And here's your host, Paul Winkler.
All right, back here on the Investor Coaching Show, Paul Winkler. Talking money and investing. PaulWinkler.com is the website where we have... All right, so there was some talk a little bit about, I have been... I'll just make comments as I go. Let me just skip to it, straight to it. Just check this out.
What's the matter with trying to get a life-changing move? You in the S&P 500, you'll never be in a life-changing move, ever.
This is your general framework in the book that the index fund.
So Kramer's talking about his new book again. And Jim Cramer's got a new book, how to make money in any market. And, what is it? What is wrong with you younger people? Don't you want to make money? Don't you want to listen to me? Don't you? I did a thing a while back. It was Kellogg School of Management did this study on his stock fix, and they found you'd do better selling things he told people to buy. But that's it. He is so much about stock picking and engaging in this. And the big competition to him is indexing. Now, I am not a fan of indexing outside of large U.S. stocks and out of international stocks, but let's face it, most American investors, that's the extent of their investing. They invest in just big companies, and they really don't invest in smaller companies. And small company stock indexes don't work as well because of the overweighting of bigger companies. I'm not going to get into that right now, but value indexes don't work as well. But notice that he's only talking about one index, the S&P 500, and he's just fixing, don't you want to get ahead?
Funds are a good base of operation, 50%. But they're not gonna make you rich. Is your point?
They're not, and I'm telling you that we are so beaten down.
So investing in just that is not going to make you rich. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Okay, so let's define that. But he's basically picking on the idea of putting money in an S&P 500 fund. No, you need to go and invest in my individual stocks that I like to talk about and help you pick out. And we did a segment last week where I had him saying, you need to buy this. And then, a week later, he said, no, I would never own that. And you just go, which one do you actually believe? It just makes me crazy. But anyway, I'm going to continue.
That this is a lumpen proletariat group of people. Lumpen proletariat. The people are a sack of potatoes, Engels market. And we have to change that. We have to tell people, listen, you can go and find Jensen Huang. There are not that many of them, but they can.
Yeah, we can go find somebody that runs NVIDIA. We can always find the person that had the great performance that actually did really, really well. We can always find them in hindsight. I mean, that's the problem I have with that. He's saying, well, you can, Jensen Huang, you can go find people like that. Can you know who they are in advance? Did you know who was going to be? It was like, who was it? Peter Lynch. When he retired, he had beaten the market 11 out of 13 years. And it was like huge. And one of the running jokes was this, he had done so well. And he did the smartest thing any investment manager could ever do was retire. And just retire. After you have a great performance like that, then your name is in history. But the funny thing is, even Peter Lynch couldn't find the next Peter Lynch was the running joke. Now he's telling you, oh, you've got people like this. Jensen, you need to go find the Jensen, people like that. That's who you need to go and invest in, the people that are going to change the world going forward.
Change your life. The people at that meeting today are all club members who made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars by buying the stock of that man because that man told you he could do it. And that's what we should be excited about.
Now, what he's implying is that if you had joined his club, you would have made hundreds of millions of dollars. It's almost scary when somebody makes a claim like that. If you just join my club, I'll show you who the next Jensen Huang is. I'll show you who that person is that's going to beat the market and is going to have this phenomenal record and is going to make you rich. That sounds really good, doesn't it? It just doesn't line up with reality is the problem. And it's what frustrates me when I hear people like this that don't actually have a fiduciary responsibility to you. They can say whatever they want. They can literally say whatever they want because there's freedom of speech. And it frustrates me.
No, hey, I'm really fired up about my S&P 500 fund. Forget it. They're in, and again, I'd say, I as a concession, I say you got to have one. But there are companies that...
Why do you need to have an S&P 500 fund if he's just going to make you filthy rich? That doesn't even make sense when he's telling you you've got to have that as a base of operation. Or maybe is he not necessarily all that confident that he really is going to make you rich? Just asking for a friend.
That are making you fortunes, and you're choosing to avoid it because someone who has $1 billion tells you not to do it.
Somebody with $1 billion tells you not to do it. Maybe that person with $1 billion knows what he's talking about. I guess he's talking about, Buffett, I'm guessing, who tells people don't engage in this kind of junk. Don't engage in this kind of silliness. Now, if you look at the S&P 500, for example, what's the biggest holding? NVIDIA. So he may go and talk about investing in companies like that and having somebody like the CEO of NVIDIA, at your side. But the reality of it is an S&P 500 fund already has a lot of money in that. And 8% of its money is in that. And Microsoft is another about 7%. And Apple is another 6%. When you add up those big holdings, there's a ton of money in just a few companies. But, the reality of it is that you'll hear people say these things and just recognize that they are contradicting themselves. Listen closely to this kind of stuff. I want you to really hear what's being said. I did this last week, but it bears repeating if you didn't hear that. When you hear these people telling you which stocks you ought to invest in, and they sound so confident they know what you ought to invest in, just remember things like this.
To the original point, there's a lot at stake for his companies, given how often they touch the federal government.
Look, I think that his technology is superior in every way to Waymo. My money's on Waymo now.
What?
Waymo's the one that's going to go. No, this is like a horse race. This thing came up lame. But Waymo's going away.
You have been day in, day out backing Musk's technology over Waymo.
That's because of the fundamentals. That's because of the fundamentals.
That's because of the fundamentals. You've been backing one company and you're saying, no, the other company is superior now. Which one do I believe? Which one do I listen to? This is it. If you're not tuned into this stuff all the time like I am, you're going to miss these inconsistencies. You're going to miss these flip-flops on which stocks that you ought to get, which ones you ought to get rid of.
The fundamentals, that was pre-Epstein.
I guess we just have to wait and see what's next. Who comes back and says something?
Someone's going to get to ask him in Austin next week. Yeah, about all of it.
So, this is something you have to be very, very aware is happening. The same thing here.
Meanwhile, Jim, Tesla's going to go for 4 days higher today. It's up 17% since Friday.
We got a lot of downgrades, and it visibly stuck. It didn't go down, and then it went up 10%. I'll give you a good example. Guggenheim has a sell on it today. If I crossed out the word sell and I read it, I would be buying. I mean, it's that positive. It's about robotaxi, and it's about the total addressable market. And initially, Tesla won't do that well. But I've got to tell you, I would never sell Tesla in this. And then Piper Sandler with just a few bullet points about why it's going to be fantastic. Driverless Teslas have been spotted.
I would never sell Tesla.
Walk back when it's going to be. But I continue to believe that you've got to own the stock.
Yeah.
But the fact is, David, stock's bottom. And now you're talking about, take a look.
It was just last week after the posts, you were saying, I don't think you can own it.
I don't think you can own it. I would never sell it. I don't think you can own it.
What do you want from me?
I want answers is what I want. I want the truth.
I just can't believe it. It just blows my mind that he was called on that. And, Jim actually brought it up. There was that comedian, Stewart. And he had actually called him on this. And there's a video out there. I should probably find the audio for this and for the show one of these days. And it's just the hand wringing. You know, Lehman Brothers. Oh, we could do better. This is the frustrating thing. So often people think that they're getting objective information from the media. And so often they have no clue that they're not. And that there's no fiduciary responsibility. There's no responsibility to the investor at all. Hey, this is Paul Winkler. Hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Investor Coaching Show. If you want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, paulwinkler.com. Until next time, I'm Paul Winkler, reminding you that I believe that more educated investors are more confident investors, and confident investors are more successful investors. Have a great one. Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Paul Winkler, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.